Okay.
All right, you all, we are live on YouTube.
Great. This is a April 2020 meeting of the Onancock Tree Board. It's being
Or
held
May.
May. Sorry, my May 2020. I forgot to change that in my my headline.
Yeah.
And so this is our first meeting of 2020, and we're going to be going over some activities that happened in early mid-April, and then make plans for tree maintenance and tree planting into the fall of 2020. I sent out an agenda earlier today under tree care. Just wanted to update that Ray Berger got me quotes for, at the current time, prices for bald cypress, a bald cypress tree for Onancock Landing in memory of John. And basically we're looking at, from Tankard Nursery, something in the $100 range.
Okay.
There will be an additional cost for mulch. And we would probably again, well, we'll see about the hole digging. It doesn't have to be quite as large as what happened at the town park this past April. So just to give you a sense as we move forward. And it looks like that project is would come out of our 2021 budget.
Yeah.
So that kind of gives you a sense of what we're looking at.
Okay.
And in case anyone's,
When is it?
I'm sorry?
Just gonna ask, when should it be planted? When would
Yeah,
Ray
this is going to, oh, Ray, if you want to kick in, sure.
The fall would be great.
By the fall or in the fall?
In the fall.
In fall, okay.
Yeah, I was thinking of this as a fall project, and we'll get to Tree City USA and Arbor Day in a minute. But it seems like our best planting time is, middle end of September to the end of October.
Okay.
And
I do have a
that's,
question about a plaque or something for the tree, not necessarily on it, but let me know what your thoughts are, because I think the town would like to do something.
okay,
Since it is for an employee that passed away while still in service.
yeah. Right off the top of my head, I'm thinking that might be a town expense rather than a tree board.
It would be. It would be.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay.
Mhm.
Also, in relation to that project, I have put out a request for an estimate from a tree stump removal company. I'm waiting to hear back from him. He was kind of busy these last 2 days. If you know of any other, this was Best Ever Tree Care. If you know of any other companies who might be able to do stump removal as opposed to stump grinding, I think it would be good for us to have that whole old tree trunk or stump removed. I don't think we'll plant in the same exact spot, but just for aesthetics and maybe even safety in terms of it being there, a trip hazard and things like that. And then also for mowing. So as soon as I know that, that will be added to that plantings budget. Yeah, so Ray or Shannon, if you know of anybody who, any other company who might be able to do this a little bit cheaper than Simpson or Marshall. So
Is this stump down by the kayak?
yeah, this is right near the ramp to the kayak launch.
I mean, I don't know if the town would be able to use their backhoe to pull it out.
Yeah, that might be. In the stump removal, is that really just grabbing it and ripping it up, or do they grind it first and then
No, you
start
just,
removing?
a backhoe is typically used.
Okay. Yeah, it's pretty soft ground down there. They'd have to pick a time, and we have all summer to do it. We might even behoove us to wait a little bit if they're going to put heavy equipment on that.
Okay.
And since we're talking about that section of the park, that low-lying section, the guy who mows the lawn there, his name escapes me.
Frank Lewis.
Frankie, yeah, Frankie. He was down there a couple weeks ago, and I grabbed him, and we talked about how that section between the Krauses and the water grows really, really tall and high. And I know why. I think we've talked about this before. It's basically like a little bog or a wetland, and he can't get his mowers through it after heavy rains, and that's what happened. I did notice that I noticed last weekend it looked like he managed to get through there and cut it, but there's still a lot of work to be done around some of the tree plantings down there. Are you guys familiar with all the 9 native trees that were planted between the Krauses and the park back in 2014, I think?
No.
No. It's a really nice grove of trees. They're redbuds, sweet bay magnolias, and different like witch hazel, but they're just overgrown and not really noticeable because of how difficult it is to get in there. So it's kind of a perennial problem. But it would be nice to come up with a plan to kind of make those trees stand out again.
Okay.
So I think I'm adding that to one of my priorities for the coming year. So then real quick, the replacement of the red bud in Town Square. I don't know, Lisa, if you were up in the front corner of the Town Square, there was a tree and it basically blew over. It was a really young tree, and between a weak root system, it blew over. Ray, I did talk to Kim Moore about moving her tree. She, and in case you know, this is the tree that she planted behind the memorial in the center of the park. She sounded amendable, but she wasn't super enthusiastic. So I think it's just something I'm going to work with her on. It wasn't, just to make sure she understands. Now, that being said, do we want to plant something that small in the corner of the park, or do we want to go with something like again, Ray came up with like a 5 to 6 foot multi-stem or an 8 to foot single stem tree, something a little bit more substantial and in, it's the word I'm looking for, in kind of continuity with the fringe tree that's already there.
But
That would be nice.
the multi-stem redbud would probably be a similar habit, and eventually it'd be approximately the same size.
Okay. And Kim's is a multi-stemmed.
That's right.
Yeah.
Hers would probably be better to be a single stem so that it doesn't poke people in the eye when you walk by.
Right. So I'm just going to circle the multi-stemmed. And I think she understands when I explained the reason why. I think she understood what I was saying, but it just wasn't, she wasn't that enthusiastic about it. So I think the time to transplant has pretty much passed. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay. So that, again, it would be a fall thing. All right, so that takes care of the tree care, the bald cypress and the replacement. And Lisa, I'll get you these figures for the both the bald cypress and the redbud multi-stemmed, and I'll continue to work with Kim to see if she would be amenable to moving that in the fall.
Okay.
Might take us all summer to convince her.
Well, you might have it in July.
Right. And then just, Lisa, can you tell us a little bit about our budget for next year?
So this current year, we were able to give you all $2,000 because you had that specific project of removing that tree in Town Square.
Yep.
So you used $1,600 this year. Unfortunately, I was hoping to keep you all at the same rate as that's the current year, but then we had to cut about $200,000 out of the budget for the coming fiscal year. So we reduced the tree board beautification line item back down to $1,000.
Okay. So 2021.
Now, council has not approved this budget yet.
Right.
They've seen it in a work session and discussed it, and it is up for public hearing at the end of May. So if you want to try for more money, that would be your time. I'm
Okay.
not sure that you're going to get it, but Ray would probably be able to speak to that a little bit better than I could.
What I'm intrigued about is that we've only spent 1,600. So we have $400 to spend between now
Wait.
and.
Don't let me, hold on one second, I lied. I'm looking at my budget worksheet. It's just not updated like my software is. I think you might be over budget by a little bit. So let me log on.
That would make more sense to me.
That was old. That was old. That was as of April 17th. So hold tight.
Yeah.
Let me log on to my system real quick. I'll be able to tell you where you're at for this year. See, my daughter kicking me out of my room was a good thing.
Hmm.
Budget versus actual. You all have spent, well, actually, that's not true. I've got you at 1,647.88. But I think what I did was two of your invoices that came in, one I plucked out of Parks and Landscaping, and one I plucked out of here, which is giving you a little bit more room right there.
Okay.
So let me see where we are at Parks. Because for planting and landscaping at Parks, which had a $2,500 budget this year, let's see, we used $831. So I think that's what I did.
Okay.
I try to disperse it out to departments that make sense.
Yeah. Yep. For sure. And I think a bulk of that. Okay, that's good. So we have basically $350 left to spend, and perhaps getting the price on that stump removal. If the town can't do it, it might. If we can get it done sooner than later, then that would just smooth the way for the fall. Okay, I'll make sure the tree board members know what the new budget line is. And then I put in my agenda that based on how much money we had, what our tree priorities should be. And that is both planting and, to my mind, maintenance a little bit, whether it's limb trimming and that sort of thing. So I would like to hear from other people about what they think our priorities should be moving forward into the next fiscal year. Both of you.
How is the how is the white oak doing in the bank and behind the bank? I need to go check that out. Does that need any work?
It is showing its age still. There's at least one more dead limb of good size. Going back to the last time it was looked at comprehensively, which has been a number of years, one of the big suggestions that the arborist had was to place lightning, a grounding system on it, so that if it got struck by lightning, the ground wire would take it to the ground. We never moved forward with that, but if there were ever a time when we could get an estimate on that and then had excess funds, that might go a long way towards saving it. And then the perennial, again, the debate every year is, do we remove the concrete or not. But that always ends up being a discussion of it being part of the bigger picture of that street.
And are
But
there
thank-
any plans for that anymore? Is that a goner or is it?
I don't know that it's a
Still-
goner, but it really
know.
hasn't been mentioned in probably about a year and a half, 2 years. But I wouldn't call it a goner. I think at some point somebody is going to come in there and make some magic happen.
Well, maybe
Okay.
this is a year we revisit the white oak. It's been at least 5+ years since it's gotten any treatment.
Okay. I'll go look at it. I walk under it, but I don't really look at it. So
Right,
I'll look
right.
tomorrow. You know how that is.
Yeah.
I'll look tomorrow. Yeah.
Okay. Any thoughts, Ray?
Let's see. For the new tree that was planted, it looks like we could still add maybe like 2 more bags of mulch.
Okay,
Probably too light, and that'll help with the retaining moisture this summer and
okay.
prevent weeds from. But the tree looks good. We've had a lot of heavy winds recently.
Yeah. Yeah.
The very next day, I went down and looked at it at least twice. I remember the white oak that we planted at the school that has a plaque underneath it. That lost its top, I think, during a tropical storm this summer or the fall after it was planted. So that was my biggest concern.
How's that tree doing?
You know,
It's doing better.
is it
It's-
doing
it's-
well?
Yeah,
I have.
it's done better the last couple years.
Hmm.
I mean, it looks healthy. Last time I
Okay.
checked.
Okay.
Good. I have actually have 3 bags of mulch left from that project. I've been holding on to them in my driveway, so I will bring those down and spread them out
Oh.
on any one of my comings and goings from the wharf. So that's not a big deal. And that will mean we have used every bag. One thing that I would ask is, as you walk around town, or if you wanted to take even a special trip back to Onancock Landing, there are 4 or 5 black gum trees that separate the property between the Krauses and the park. And they were planted almost over 10 years ago. I believe it was 2008. The black gum tree closest to the road, its branches are stretching now almost to the curb. If not quite there, close enough to make it look like. And so I was thinking that some kind of maintenance on those, which I can't remember ever having been done, some kind of maintenance might be in order. But that would be something for you guys to look at and give me your opinion.
Okay.
I think as the row of trees gets closer to the Krauses, each successive tree doesn't seem to be quite as big. So it could be possible that we're only looking at a limbing up of 1 or maximum 2 trees.
Okay. I'll look.
And
Something else. There's a crepe myrtle in the town square that has some dead wood in it
okay,
on the south side of the circle. And it's just a quick chainsaw or handsaw
okay,
removal, but we need to do that.
okay,
Another maintenance thing is the row of shrubs at the wharf parking lot. So if you had a boat trailer and you parked your truck, it's right along
Market Street, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think I think it's Texas used. Anyway, there's lots of weeds in there. We need to,
Yeah.
and volunteer trees and stuff. It looks pretty bad.
That's,
The one
Mary
with
and
the anchor?
Yeah, but
Or,
really,
oh, I know, along
Yeah,
the
wherever the
strip there.
parking
Yeah,
is.
okay.
Yeah, where the
Yeah.
parking spots are.
Right. Yeah.
That's interesting because Mary and I have kind of adopted the point of that row where we put 2 blue planters in there. We're going to put in some mulch and maybe a little bit more salt tolerant type flowers. And Becky Roots had the anchor garden, what I call the anchor garden. But the row of trees between hers and ours is kind of like a no man's land in terms of maintenance. You know, that also is really interesting, Ray, because as I was thinking of how Mary and I were going to take care of that little point of the row, I thought to myself, wouldn't it be a cool streetscaping program to maybe just re-landscape that entire row from Mount Prospect to the point there. I think that's a bigger council decision. It's not really, we could come up with a plan, but it would have to be part of a bigger discussion. But just kind of got thinking, boy, those pine trees are old. They're raggedy. Like you said, there's weeds and volunteers in them. And then maybe a whole scale redesign of that little strip could be in order.
it's probably a
Is-
good idea. Maybe
is-
we could come up with a plan and make a recommendation to council.
Mm-hmm.
I know, Bill, when you were talking about how you kind of adopted that one area, is Bill's Adopt a Garden thing still happening? Do you all know? Did that ever take off or?
It took off. No, it didn't really take off. It kind of
Okay.
just moved forward slowly. I know that Kim Moore takes care of the circle
Okay.
at the Town Square. Mary and I take care of the point. And then Becky Roots took care of the anchor garden. But given her situation, I'm not sure if she's going to continue. So it's kind of sputtered.
Okay.
It's not really an enthusiastic, and I'm not sure who's taking care of the Robert Custis garden. It could be the
There was
Foskey.
someone weeding there the other day. Was that a town employee
It
weeding
might have
there
been.
the other day?
I saw one of our workers out back doing the parking lot back here not that long ago. So and I know they're out there trying to do some of that stuff. We are at split shifts right now, Shannon. So we're not chipping and all that stuff because we don't have a full staff. So I think they're trying to do the little things that they can do individually. So probably was us.
Okay. The Adopt a Garden is a good program. Just requires, obviously the personal commitment. The limited number of gardens, I know they all looked back to the town for supplies. So there was an expense on the town's part. And then the case of the redbud behind the memorial indicates, that sometimes Adopt a Garden people will take steps that aren't entirely in the best interests of the garden or the location. So I know Mary and I are committed to that little point. I'm actually doing a little bit of work for Becky and Ed, so I'm going to ask her what her interest is in continuing to do that. And maybe we just advertise it as available to somebody. And then quite informally, Steve Boyd, who lives next to Ed and Becky, has always taken care of the circle of bushes and done an excellent job.
Yeah, they look good this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And by the way, somebody
Yeah,
clipped
they
those
look
rose
good.
bushes back.
Yeah, I noticed that.
That's good. All right.
If we
Good.
need to, one year we could maybe transplant them back a foot or two away from the bench in the fall.
Yeah.
Something else to do.
I bet, and as a matter of fact, I bet you it was Steve who clipped those, because he made mention of that. All right. Well, thanks. In my summary, I'll ask other tree board members to chime in with their what their priorities are. We know that from a cost point of view, John's tree is going to be, probably one of the bigger expenses, but it would be nice to use the rest of our money for more maintenance type stuff. All right, and then moving on quickly, Shannon and Ray, since you're the only two here, I'm just going to, this is regarding the Samuel Outlaw Blacksmith Shop. Do you guys have a good handle on what's going on down there?
Yeah, I looked at the plan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So I'm not going to really repeat it. The whole thing is now fall because that's when the money was budgeted. Gerald Boyd's pretty intimately involved with it, and he has a group of volunteers. And there is an offer to help from Trinity, I think it's Episcopalian Church. They have formed a little committee that wants to do green acts around the town. And they will be helping water the tree in the park this summer. So that's good. And I'll keep you guys updated on anything. What's that?
Holy Trinity in town?
Oh, yes, sorry,
You
Holy
mean
Trinity.
Holy Trinity?
Yeah.
Oh, I just didn't, yeah, okay. Oh, okay.
Dave Vaughn, Carol Vaughn's husband, has a
Yep,
group of
yeah.
volunteers. So we're very grateful
okay.
for that.
Yeah, I think Joy Marino is involved with that group too.
That's right. Yes. I'm going to run through the next three things really quickly. Tree City USA has always been kind of a end of the year. We need to do it just so we can keep our status and say that we're Tree City, and that has automatically renewed for next year. So we don't have to worry about any kind of requirements of funding, volunteers, Arbor Day, that sort of thing. They're just going to kind of let everyone coast. We did get our 2020 certification. And you probably know, if you follow Arbor Day, that it basically from the Arbor Day Foundation, it was canceled, but we normally do ours in the fall. So I plan on still making like maybe John's tree planting our celebration. We'll just do that. And then there was plans to do a formal dedication of the oak tree in the town square for Onancock, and that is on hold until it's appropriate for more than 10 people to meet and people are comfortable coming out.
But it was in the
So-
paper. Good job.
Yeah. Did it get in? I missed
Did
it.
get in. Mhm.
Awesome. That was quite a feat. I skipped over that, but just to recognize Bob Spoth, who lives in the yellow house around the park, Jeff Vernib, who lives right next to Cokesbury or right behind Cokesbury. Of course, Ray, you were there, and Spencer Gurney, who lives across from the inn, were the heavy lifters and the shovelers. And then we had a little audience. So it was nice. Sarah Knock came up, Kathy Boyd, some of her Anne's close friends were there to cheer us on. So, and I'll be in touch, Shannon, about watering.
Yep. Just call.
Okay.
Or is Dave on? Is he doing that? Is that?
Oh,
or-
it's going to take a team. It's going to take a group of people
that's
between summer
fine.
schedules.
Before, so,
Yeah.
yep, be happy to do it.
Great. Yeah, between summer schedules and availability for work or any other thing, it would be nice to have at least 5 people who could be on call. And I think I'm up to that number now. Ray, real quick.
Good.
The last time the tree was actually watered was the day it was planted. Now we've had a lot of rain, but is there a schedule we should be adhering to regardless of rain?
Since we haven't had rain in about 3 days now, and there's not a great chance of rain in the next 3 days or so. So we probably should water it soon.
Okay.
And if we don't get us a good rain. I think we would still be in like a twice a week range.
Okay.
Good soaking rain, good soaking water.
Yeah, Joni always told me to look at my pinky and use that as the measurement of the flow coming out of the hose, that kind of width of the water,
Yeah,
and just move it around the tree
yeah.
at intervals.
For
All
like
right.
how long?
Well, it might be beneficial to do it through the summer, particularly if it's hot and dry,
Mm-hmm.
so it
Right,
doesn't
yeah.
suffer, and it'll.
Yeah.
If, a lot, it depends on
Yeah, no, that's
actual rain amounts. You know, you get a thunderstorm and we'll get an inch of rain. You don't really need to go out there and water it. It's,
Mm-hmm.
right. Yeah. Yeah.
but it can also it can be very dry in July and August. And
Yeah.
that's
Oh,
we have to wait
yeah.
and see how it
Is
goes.
there a hose there now?
There
one
is.
by the town square. I mean the gazebo.
Yeah. Okay. Do you want me to do one this in the next couple days?
Yes,
Do you want me to water? The next
sure.
couple? Okay, I'll do it. Yeah.
What I'll do for you is get the hose hooked up, and it's on a hose caddy, and you just pull the hose right to the
Okay.
to the tree.
Great.
All right. And that's about it. I had two other items on, but they're all related to, fall plantings. So there's not much to say about them because I think they're really action items for later this summer as the fall plantings approach. Is there anything particularly that you guys want to bring up that you think we should address or the town should address?
No, but I'm gonna look with a better eye. So,
Yeah. Lisa, the way things worked with Bill, he attended each meeting,
Mhm.
and a lot of these things that we've talked about, whether it's can the town remove the stump, or perhaps there's a need for a couple limbs like the limbs in the crepe myrtle to be removed. Bill would just write those down, and I have a feeling they would either go to you and then to Brian or eventually end up at Public Works. Do you want me to write you a formal, like these are requests from the tree board for
So
Public
what
Works?
I have the tree stump removal, because obviously if we could save money doing that, that'd be great.
Okay.
What was the other thing? The weeds down at the bushes at the wharf. Did you want me to talk to Craig about that?
Yeah. I don't know if I actually talked to him about the little garden, and yeah, you can talk to Craig, but I think it's going to end up being a Public Works project.
Okay. I'll mention it to both of them. And there was something else I just had in my mind and I've forgotten now, so I apologize. Is there something I missed?
There's deadwood in one of the crepe myrtles in
Deadwood.
town
Yeah, we
square.
talked about it. Somebody said a chainsaw. Was that for that or was that for something
Yeah,
else?
that was that. I mean, it's a quick chainsaw job.
Quick chainsaw. So I've worked for different town managers now, and I've had one that did not want our guys using chainsaws at all. and I don't, and yeah, I'm not sure Bill probably would be okay with it. So I'll mention it to Brian. Where was that, the tree?
On the south side of the circle in the town square.
In town center. Okay. All
I
right.
think it's between the circle and the monument. If they have trouble doing it, I will go over there and do it.
If my chainsaw started, I would go and do it.
I'll take my little crew over and we'll do it. We'll have fun.
That's
All right. So I will. I'll talk with Brian tomorrow morning about some of these items. So
great. Thank you very much.
you're welcome.
Well, I'm glad we had this meeting. It's good to get started, I know for me, and So I really thank you for your participation, and we'll just keep moving.
Okay, and then, you know, if y'all want to do this again next month for June, we'll go ahead and do another Zoom meeting.
Okay.
Depending on who's open, what's going on. Your meetings are a little bit earlier in the month, so we might still be on electronic.
Uh-huh.
And of course, July, you'll have a new town manager to probably do live meetings with, so
Okay.
good to go.
Great.
All right.
Thank you, guys. I'm going to sign off.
All right, thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Okay, great.